My name is Kennedy Carter. I'm a photographer based in Durham, North Carolina, and I've been shooting for about 5 years now. I got my start in high school. I got my start in high school. I took a few of the photo courses they had there, and it was one of the few schools in my town that had a dark room. So when I did start, I kind of started off with film as my first medium and got to experiment in the dark room, things like that. I attended UNC Greensboro for 2 years, and then I felt like it wasn't a good fit for me. So I took a bit of a gap year to kind of gather my bearings and figure out what exactly it was that I wanted to do. During this gap year, I started doing a lot more freelance stuff and shooting for various publications. I remember my first one was, I believe, for the New York Times, and it was photographing what ballerinas do on their off seasons. And the girl that I shot with was an Uber driver. So it was just different, weird, odd jobs. They'd send me out to just different. Alrighty. Have y'all been hearing me, or was I talking the entire time with my?
We
Was I
we,
muted?
we can hear you.
Yeah, we heard you.
Okay.
You're
Whew.
good.
I was about to say, I done told my whole life story and nobody heard it. But yeah, so they would kind of send me out to backwoods in North Carolina. I did this one story for the New Yorker on a news drought in eastern North Carolina and the Outer Banks following, I believe, Hurricane Harvey, I believe, and just the aftermath of that, as well as the heavily segregated community, and how they got their news. So that's pretty much kind of, I guess, how I've been navigating, or how I began navigating just freelance work and just doing commission stuff. But during my time, just I guess alone or without the whims of editors telling me what they want me to shoot, things like that, I've been just shooting my own personal work, which I guess speaks more towards my experiences in the South and the things that I've seen and the people that inspire me. Um, so yeah, and I think a lot of my work that I do by myself is kind of centered around romance and um, just family. I think religion as well. Um, Given that I live below the Bible Belt, a lot of it is, I guess, rooted in just I don't know, Christian influence. My father, he's also a theologian, so that was also a thing that just was, I guess, kind of just something that I touched on in my work as well. Um, and yeah, I think somehow all those things kind of mixed together to, I think, just have, I keep saying influence, but it really was just an influence in my experiences growing up here and just in my work now. Um, I think you just pressed on one of my bodies of work called Ride and Sucker Free. It was something that I began maybe 2 years ago now. I grew up part of my childhood in Texas. My mother's from Dallas, and my auntie Carla, she's from Houston. So I was frequenting there a lot. And while I was there, I would often see just Black cowboys. They'd be riding down the street, like riding down the actual highway, as well as I have family members that were conceived at not even conceived, but just made at trail rides. So it's something that I kind of return to with every city that I go to, kind of seeing how Black cowboys function, or how they, I guess, how their lives um, change according to geography and where they're located. But I think they're all rooted in this same need to almost connect with uh, family and land And they're all influenced by, I guess, ancestry to an extent. But let me know when you're ready to go to the next one. Alrighty, so here we have this image that I shot with Jaslyn. She creative directed the whole thing, but I feel like it just fits so well within my personal work. This is just a larger series that I've been working on that I feel just connects with everything that I do. When I think of this series, it's called Soul City. I kind of think of it almost like a breathing photo album of the people that I've encountered down here. And sometimes they're more staged or put together. For example, the image I that I did with Jaslyn, but other ones, they can be a bit more documentary style. I kind of got the idea for the project following when I heard about a town that was in North Carolina called Soul City. And it was marketed in the 80s as this Black utopia where people could come down, people that lived in the South could come down and have their businesses and they actually be successful and they just like kind of do essentially can live the way that they want to live. And it ended up being taken apart from the inside. And it just never came to be. But there are people that still live here and rep Soul City. And so I think with this project, I kind of thought it'd be interesting to almost not necessarily create a town, but think of if this town was to exist, the people that live there, the people that just live and exist and um yeah, really just do what they want. And I think when I finally make a book, this will probably be um I don't know, just the body of work that I pursue and want to put out there. And then finally, also, I don't know if this is a thing, but there is some nudity within this collection of images. But um, I've been, I think, for the last year, kind of making these almost modern interpretations of what I think pinup images are. I think uh, over time how we consume sexuality, it evolves, and it's gone from this thing where it was kind of, yeah, I think in terms of sexuality and how we consume it, it's gone from something that was, I don't know, I guess like taken or just, there was always a middleman, but now you have women and different people of all walks of life creating pornography or just these nude images of themselves and being able to sell them on their own. So I was kind of thinking about that as well as I collect these, well, actual pinups or negatives of pinups. And I thought it'd be interesting to kind of create my own from scratch. And yeah, just collect these or make my own collection of pinups and what I think, not necessarily what they should look like, but sometimes they feel almost sexual, but I think at times it's really interesting to see just different people and how they wear their sexuality and how they present it on their own terms. Alrighty. And then I have some commissioned work as well, if we want to look through a few of them. Um, Yeah, so well, here are the images that, or some of the images that I shot for British Vogue of Beyonce. I kind of landed that assignment out of the blue. I feel as though everything fell into place when it needed to fall into place in terms of what was going on in my life, as well as just when I received the assignment, as well as the things that it's done for my career. I think for a long time, I felt as though in order to get the assignments that I have been getting, that I had to leave North Carolina and I guess like pound the pavement in a big city in New York and I guess like show my face to kind of a lot of these editors. But I think I landed that after just creating the personal work I'd been creating on my own down here. And yeah, just doing what I love. And I feel as though the editor that asked me to, if I was interested in it and kind of put me up for the bidding process, had was most interested in the work that I've been doing personally.
Is there any other specific like commission work that you want to show? I know
Let's
there's.
see. Hmm. I think let's go down to the New Yorker Pollocksville. It's right under Rolling Stone.
Okay.
So this was one of my first assignments. I kind of briefly touched on it about just the assignment that I'd done in Eastern North Carolina on the Outer Banks and the afterlife of a hurricane that affected a town called Pollocksville. And it's also, I was in Pollocksville, Jones County, Kinston, just kind of like super Eastern North Carolina, looking at this super segregated town and I guess seeing how these different groups of people went about getting their news. I always look back on this assignment and I just always thought it was so interesting. I feel as though I don't really get a lot of assignments that feel almost, I'm trying to figure out how to describe it, but niche in perspective and super, yeah, that's the only way I can describe it. It was a unique perspective that I really just value within my portfolio. Let me see what else is up in there. I need to update it, honestly. um, we could do Entertainment Weekly by with Lakeith Stanfield. Um, so I think I shot this, I believe, in December, right before the turn of the year out in LA. And I don't know, when I see it within my whole portfolio, I think it's, I don't know, it just feels fitting in terms of this super 70s look. I think I'm always super interested in images where you can't, you know, I guess see exactly when it was shot or know exactly when it was shot. And I mean, granted, you know that it was shot now because it's Lakeith Stanfield, but I don't know, that playing with time is always something that's really interesting to me. And the creative deck was just really cool. Uh, what else is there? I think, yeah, I think that's all I want to look into for now. But if anybody else has a, I don't know, one that people want to talk about specifically, I'm down to chat about it.
Can I unmute the mic or?
You're unmuted. We can hear you.
Oh, okay. I kind of wanted to look at Erica Badu and
Hmm.
Summer Walker.
Okay.
I'm a big Erica fan.
Hmm. Let's see.
I forgot I wasn't sharing my screen. I'm over here clicking through. I'm like, why isn't anyone saying anything? Okay.
All right, all right. Let me see. I feel When did I shoot this? It was, I think, the day after my British Vogue cover had came out, and then they asked me if I'd be willing to go to Dallas to shoot with Erica and Summer, and I'm big fans of them both. And they really had, it was weird. They had two completely different energies, kind of. And Erica had styled Summer. Summer also had shown up. She was pregnant, but it was before anybody knew. So I'm talking with my editor. I'm like, okay, like, is this going to be like a rollout that she says, or like, I guess opens up about it, or does she want this, I guess, like, to be a thing that is hidden? So I think this ended up being one of her first, where she is not necessarily showing, but it's like she was somewhat showing. And so I don't know, it was just a really interesting assignment. Erica Badu, super interesting lady. um yeah. And then I think just in terms of creative, we didn't really have one. We just walked around her neighborhood and scouted a location and then pulled stuff from her house and just brought it out. Like that huge chair was just something that was in her house. And I think it required like 2 or 3 people to get it out and then bring it down the block where we shot. And yeah, it was a really quick shoot, kind of in and out, but that's really all I have to say about it. I'm open to any questions that you might have about the images.
You were talking about like their energies, and I guess like from their, different energies, how did you like have them come together in a like specific spot? Like how did you just detect that spot and then boom, that's the picture for you?
Mhm. Um, Honestly, I feel like Summer, she was a bit more on the reserved side, and I don't like to push people outside of what they're comfortable doing. And Erica, she's almost as eccentric as she appears. So I think it was just a matter of letting them do what they do and be themselves. And yeah, I think that was just about it. And they were also familiar with each other. They had a very long Zoom call, which was the reason why they got together in the first place for this image. But yeah, and I mean, they were both really nice people and just open to suggestions, which was good.
So we kind of jumped into the Q&A portion.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just wanted to make an announcement. Like anybody who wants to chime in and say something, you can write it in the chat, or you can use the raise hand tool, which it's in the lower corner of Zoom. And you can also see it on the participants panel. If you have a hard time finding it, you can just let me know in the chat, and we can unmute you and you can ask your question. And don't be shy. This is a salon, so it is nature. It's for us to just, sit here and like converse. But in the meantime, I actually have a question.
Mhm.
On the thought of Black love, there's an artist named Gadere. They were previously featured on Cloud Salon, and they recently posted on Instagram, "What does it take to make love go viral?" And this puts me in the mind of like the photo series that we did, and just like celebrating Black women and love despite trauma. I wanted to ask, why do you think this photo went viral? And what do you think it'll take for love to go viral? Especially
Mhm.
in a time when we need love and there's so much hatred, like in the wake
Mhm.
of the attack on communities of color, specifically our Asian and Pacific Islander communities who are mourning right now.
Mhm. And which image is it that you're talking about?
Am I still sharing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. It's the photo that you and I did together
Mhm.
in 2019. And I remember like you had hit me up and you're like, yo, it's like going crazy, like on Twitter, so many people are retweeting it. And like,
Mhm.
and yeah, like, why do you think that people had that reaction to um, the photos?
I think something that people gravitate to is familiarity and things that they can relate to. I think images and images of family in particular are something that Black people cherish a great deal. I think history is something, and just pertaining to, I think, just African American cultures and yeah, just Black Southern cultures, I think we value history and moments so much because we had a history snatched from us. I think an image like this, and even the people that are inside of it, I feel like I've seen them before. And I think it's sometimes, and I said familiarity a lot, but it's almost like looking at a memory and it triggers something. I think that's the reason why it went viral, or a lot of people interacted with it. It resonated with people because of that. And I think um just in terms of love and making it resonate with people, I feel as though that love is something that so many people relate to and want to feel, or or hopefully want to feel, or have felt before. And I think when people are reminded of that, that's a good image, at least to me. I can't speak for everyone, but that's how this particular photograph makes me feel.
Yeah, I feel you on the aspect of memory and how history was taken from us. And I think that's like why images, and like even I've gotten into the habit of recording, my family, my mother, when she like ends up telling me like spontaneously stories about her childhood, um,
Mhm.
especially because it's a painful, those are painful memories, growing up in that time. Like my mom was born in 1959. She probably doesn't like the fact that I'm putting that out there, but that was a time of segregation. Sharecroppers, like her and her brothers were like still people in her neighborhood were sharecropping on this very land. Um,
Mhm.
so not specifically this land, but this is, where they were living that experience. Um,
Mhm.
I guess,
Definitely. I
yeah.
think that kind of reminds me of just my late grandfather, and he would tell me a lot of just a lot of stories of his childhood. He was born in Providence, Louisiana, and eventually moved to Dallas when he was, I think, 15 or 16, because his mother made him, after white supremacists began castrating Black men in his town. And so whenever I would hear various stories from his childhood, I really wish that I had almost gotten just like recordings or oral histories from when he was alive. Because I think what was so painful, other than the fact that I lost my grandfather, was the fact that I didn't hold on or have any history. There was, other than images. So I don't know. I think when I do see images of him, or I do see just images that my grandparents took, I just cherish them way more, mainly because it feels like a lot of that has been lost.
It might come and revisit you in different ways.
Mhm.
Really quick before we go, there's other people that are writing in the chat and I want to get to their questions. I guess like connecting that to how do we make love go viral? Um, what are your thoughts on that?
I think, hmm, I don't know. It's like sometimes the moments that I feel the most loved are the ones that I wouldn't want viral, if that makes sense. I feel like vulnerability is often the things or the moments where people are most viral, or the most people see it. I guess like the more people want to see it, are the moments that people are most vulnerable. And I think sometimes it can trigger a lot of emotions, and that's part of the reason why it goes viral. And sometimes I don't necessarily know how I feel about that. I feel as though sometimes those moments are best cherished when you're by yourself a little bit, or just, yeah, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I wouldn't want all of my love to be viral or for it to be seen by everyone.
I feel you on that. Just thinking about viral, because it seems to be ephemeral, short-lived,
Hmm.
the moment, especially thinking of the way that like the term viral, it's used to be monetized. So it's like attached to capitalism.
Hmm.
To me is the opposite of love.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
we have some questions in the chat. From Lisa Gonzalez, what other types of projects do you want to work on? And what is your dream assignment?
Hmm. What other projects do I want to work on? That's the thing. It's like I'm not entirely sure. I feel as though I'm still kind of working my way through just this editorial realm. Even with commercial too. And it's like the deeper I get into it, the more I'm like, I don't know. The more I'm like, is this where I want to be? Because I feel like I'm most happy when I'm making my own stuff or doing my own thing. I think in terms of assignments, what would I want to do? I don't know. I feel like the best assignments are the ones when I have complete creative control and I'm able to do as I want and gain or work with a team that I've been wanting to work with. So I think that's the assignment or assignments that I most look forward to or hope for. And then there was like a follow-up question that was attached to it, but I forgot. What was it? Or was that it?
I think that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, that answers it. That sums it up.
Okay.
Building on that, have you ever thought about making films or documentaries?
I think one of these days, but I kind of have been just staying in my bag with this photo stuff. And then eventually I'll venture out and do films. I think part of why I'm so nervous about venturing out and doing anything else is I don't like to show anything until I'm sure it's really good. And I think you have to, I guess, put yourself out there to learn and be able to grow in that aspect. So I will one day after I get my feet wet with it, but I'm not sure when exactly. I do enjoy screenwriting though, but most of the scripts are really bad. So I kind of pick it up and put it down.
I feel like you got to start somewhere. And so
Yeah.
as long as you don't stop, I was watching a interview with Octavia Butler, and
Hmm.
she was like, yeah, a lot of my early writing was terrible, but I never gave up. So
Hmm. Yeah. What do they say? Rome wasn't built in a day.
it wasn't, or we could think of
Yeah.
another city, right? Like,
Yeah. I don't know. Which other city?
but that's a good example. Just thinking of Rome and the fall of empires. Um,
Hmm.
we have someone raising their hand. One second. Hey, River. I think.
Hello.
Hey.
Thank you so much, Kennedy, for taking the time to speak with us. It's crazy to be in the room with you. I really like your pinup series, and like in my work, I make a lot of photos of or with friends. And so I was wondering like how you go about like photographing people and like those kind of I don't want to say vulnerable, but like how do you make people like feel comfortable being photographed like in lingerie or like nude, or like do you know these people personally, or are you going and like kind of open calls or
Hmm. So some of these people are my friends, and some of these people I've never met before. If Are you still sharing your screen, Jaslyn?
I just stopped because I realized I was sharing it the whole time. You want
I'm
me to?
sorry. I'm gonna have you go do it again.
It's cool. It's cool. What photo? Can you see my?
Let me see. So go to pinups. And then if you go to the little gallery button in the corner, it's like on the right. Yeah. Um, let's do the one of the person. Go move your cursor up just a little bit. Over. It's like second row on the farthest right. Right there, yeah.
Oh, I love this one.
So this person, I met them on Twitter and I did not know them from a can of paint. We were in, where was I? I went to Los Angeles for a week and then I knew they were out there. They were out in Riverside. So I was like, look, I really want to shoot with you. I will pull up on you and pick you up. And they were like, yeah. So I got them from Riverside and I drove them to downtown LA and we did this shoot. And this person in particular, they were comfortable with nudity. I kind of went over with them what I was trying to create to begin with. And that is how I met Jaslyn too. I will just pull up on anybody. It don't matter. I'll pull up on somebody in the street. My mom was laughing at me the other day because I was walking downtown in my city and there was a man with the most insane locks I've ever seen. And I ran a whole block just to catch up with him. And I will just do that. It really does not matter to me. I will chase a picture. But yeah, this person, met them on Twitter, went over what it is that I was trying to do, what it was that I was trying to make. And then I also kind of just went over what it was that they were most comfortable with. And that's typically just how I do, even with people that I'm close to. I never try to assume. So yeah, I pretty much just go over what I'm trying to make, what I'm hoping to do to begin with, and go from there. And I kind of, I think with what I kind of start more modest and then I kind of become almost stripped bare. So I start with the more clothed attire, or sometimes we just jump into it. It varies according to the person. And I kind of just try to learn how to read their energies beforehand and just open the lines of communication so no one feels uncomfortable.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
I don't want to say your name wrong. Is it Amici?
Amechi. It's a Nigerian name. It's a little bit hard. but but I was gonna ask, I know within photography and this whole business that you're in is very white dominated, and it's very hard sometimes to catch the essence of Blackness within photos. And were there any integral moments within your life that, or any like images of Blackness that you shot that made you want to strive to take more photos and moments of Blackness in certain, in different, essences and different emotions, especially like things like Black joy, Black joviality. A lot of times when you see Blackness depicted, a lot of times it's our trauma and people trying to commodify off of it. So like were there any integral moments within your life that people may have wanted to box you in, or certain images that made you want to strive more to capture more essences of Blackness?
Mhm. Jaslyn, I'm gonna have you share your screen again. Sorry, sister.
No, you're good. 1 second.
Okay, I'm gonna have you go to the home button. And then go to the little gallery thing again. Let's see where it is. Okay, it's not there. Okay, one more. I'm gonna have you do one more. But go to personal work. and then Soul City. And I'm gonna have you go to the gallery one more time. Alrighty, and it is the 5th image. All right. So I don't think there were necessarily integral moments in my life that I don't want to say that, because I feel like everyone has moments that influence their work, but I think it's more of feelings or things that I've seen before that kind of influence my work. I think with this image in particular, it was, and even when I see it now, I'm kind of flashed back to those super, I think they're like, what books were my mom? She was reading like a lot of erotica, and then I would sneak it off of her shelf, and it'd be like Black erotic books. And she would have these open edition prints in the house of what were they? They were just like of Black couples. So I think seeing those and sneaking those books off her shelf and stuff was just something that I didn't know. Can your mom start a book club? Look, I'll start a book club, okay? Because that's all that's on my shelf. But yeah, so just seeing those things and sneaking those things kind of influenced my work a great deal. And I'm currently reading, what's that lady's name? I think her name is Beverly Jenkins. And she's this Black author that writes romance and like kind of historical erotic novels. But they'll take place in like the 1800s. And something that I think is so interesting in those books is just seeing how Black people and in relationships, or at least in the books, were almost like these air bubbles of life and safety outside of all the traumatic things that were going on in the world. Because I mean, it's 1800s, you got slavery, you got all these messed up things happening, but you turn, even now, even in the wake of like just doom scrolling on Twitter and seeing all these terrible things happening on a consistent basis, sometimes we just turn to our lovers for safety and understanding. And I think when I look at those images or think back on the images that, or paintings that I was seeing in my mom's house, and those book covers that I was sneaking, and like the books that I was reading that I was sneaking, and I look at this image here, I think that's what I was trying to embody, I believe. And yeah, I think that's just what I was trying to embody within this image and within a lot of the images that I make of couples. And I think it's something that I want to just branch out and continue to do, uh, because our partners really at times, and I feel like this can be quite codependent, but sometimes they be keeping us alive and keeping us from whooping somebody ass, and keeping us safe and being this like safe little bubble. And that's what I get from this image and how close they are. And yeah, I just think it's something that's so interesting with couples and romance. And yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, I really feel that, just thinking on the thought of like Black love is radical because it
Mhm.
keep us alive. There's nothing else that could have kept us alive through the trauma that we are still living through.
Mhm.
So we have another question from Danielle. In regards to photography as a whole, do you think that there's one specific key to producing meaningful images? Or do you think that it's different for every photographer?
I think it's different for every photographer and every artist in general. I was talking with a friend, and they were basically telling me that they didn't necessarily know how to talk about their practice or their just artistic practice photographic practice without feeling as if they were revealing their tricks similar to a magician. But I think the way that we approach work in the way, or the things that influence our work, it varies from person to person, and it surpasses, you know, words at times, to the point that it's not something that can be taken or necessarily, not, I don't even want to say advised, because sometimes you can have, or people can help pull that out of you, or figure out key points to what exactly influences you. But I think practices and how exactly, just how we pursue work, it's almost like DNA, and it's different from each person, if that makes sense. And I think, yeah, it's really different from for each person. And I feel the best way to find what it is for you is to keep shooting. Everybody says that all the time. At first I thought it was stupid when I was first shooting and I could not figure out what I was doing, and I felt like I was just aimlessly shooting. But with time I figured out what drives me most, and what I walk away, like when I walk away from a shoot, what leaves me feeling full. um I think really just search for that full feeling.
I think building off of that, we could ask, how do you get into the zone to shoot? And what is your ritual? What do you do before you shoot?
What is it that I do before I shoot? I feel like oftentimes I'm just gathering materials and unconsciously searching for locations. I feel like I have like a spank bank in my brain of all these locations and things that I've passed, and I always figure out how to get back to them. And I think that's pretty much what triggers an image for me when I find something, whether it be like an article of clothing or just a cool place to shoot, and I build off of that.
So how has it been shooting during the pandemic? That's something that like I've always been thinking,
Mm.
especially like traveling back and forth. Um,
Um, it's been a bit anxiety inducing. I'll feel a little tickle in my throat and I'll be like, oh my gosh, it's my time. It's over for me. I think I don't know. I've been catching a lot of flights too and trying to fly Delta. And I flew United for the first time in years. I said, it's too hot. It felt like just a petri dish. That's how it felt. So I mean, there's that. I feel like even when I was living with my parents, I just moved out like a month ago, but when I was living with them, I felt almost guilty, like potentially exposing them to something if I was to, encounter anything while I was out shooting. Luckily, that didn't happen. During my shoots, there's been a lot of COVID testing, um, which has been good, but I've been at my shoots like, this is suspicious because how are there 30 people on this shoot? I'm seeing the statistics and nobody's testing positive. The count is off. So there's that. I'm trying to think of, a lot of stuff has been occurring through Zoom. Pre-planning has been occurring through Zoom. And just shooting in general, I've been doing a lot less personal work. Um, a lot of my stuff has mainly just been, yeah, like editorial stuff. And I'm ready to just get back to shooting my personal work and the stuff that left me feeling good.
I guess I'll keep asking questions. We just are in awe and have no words in the chat. But someone had actually sent me a question in advance, and they had a question about post-Black squares. How do you determine authentic allies, or what I like to call co-liberators? We need to get beyond allyship, but when working in multiracial spaces, um, deciding on how your work is used and in your own life, how do you reach success without becoming a token?
I'm still trying to figure that out.
Right, that's a heavy question. When I read that, I was like, okay, I guess we can get into it. These are real questions that need
Mm,
answers.
for real. I mean, honestly, because people really do just try and parade you around. Yeah, I think especially just in light of this renaissance that's been occurring within Black photography and people hiring Black photographers, there's almost been a need from some people to be not celebrated, but like patted on the back, like, yeah, you finally did this. But I'm not gonna praise a fish for swimming. It should have been happened, and it's tough because I mean, honestly, that's just a question that I don't know. I think about it quite often. Um, Walking away from situations at times, feeling used. And I don't know. I really don't know. I'm just going to admit that I don't know.
Right, we just need to let that marinate. I feel like it is something that's in the back of all of our minds,
Mhm.
Black artists, and especially like on the topic of trauma, which yes, we need to address it, but it becomes a point where it's like, I'm making work about my trauma to heal from it,
Mhm.
sit in it, and like you said, not to for someone else to exploit it just for the sake of representation.
Mhm.
Oh, hi. Hi again. Last question. Um, you were talking a little bit about kind of feeling used. And have you learned as a Black photographer getting like cultivating so much success to try to navigate yourself through, you know, like have you cite certain people you can immediately say, oh, they are trying to like modify off of me, or like how have you navigated like yourself out of situations where you feel as though you're being used?
I think it's a matter of not being afraid to say no to something because no is my favorite word. If I don't want to do something, you're not gonna make me do it. So I'm always willing to say no and walk away from a situation that leaves me feeling used or like a token or just I don't know. I feel like just had a lot of situations where I walk away feeling I don't know, almost like a sellout a little bit. And it's just, it puts a stain on different experiences that are supposed to be good. So I think it's almost like it's a difficult learning curve these days. But if I encounter something that I'm just not feeling, I'll either say something about it or I just don't pursue it anymore. And it's time to cut the cord on it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So I'm getting direct questions. One of the questions was, what are you currently working on? If you can share that,
Mhm.
specifically, well, referring to the shoot that you did today.
Oh my gosh, child. Okay, so I was talking about how, well, I referenced briefly that I just got my first apartment. So I am like currently, I don't know. I'm like super spooked at the idea of not having my money for rent. So I've just been working, just trying to make sure that I'm good. And so today I did this shoot. Oh my gosh. I think about it like, because yesterday I was like, why did I do this? I did a shoot on a turkey farm. They had me out in rural North Carolina doing shoots on turkey farms. I had no service. I was like, why did I agree to this? So, I mean, like I said before, there's a learning curve. You don't have to take all the things that are offered your way, but I don't know. It was just, I was like, you know what? I need to make sure that I'm good. So I agreed to do it. And when I tell you it stunk so bad, and I was having to step in the little turkey farm thing, and it was hot. I was like, it's 50 degrees today. There's no reason why I should be hot in this damn turkey farm. It smelled like, if I had to describe it, it smelled like, do you remember that episode of That's So Raven when she put cheese in the vent?
Wait,
That's what it smelled like.
is it on Netflix now?
It's on Disney Plus, but they put cheese in the vent. That's what it smelled like, old cheese. So I say all the time, you don't have to take every single assignment. I learned the hard way today. I was like, I'm never doing nothing like this again. It stinks so bad. Why am I here? The funk was getting under my mask. So that's what I was doing today. But now I'm kind of in the yes, the rent is due.
Okay.
All right. But now I'm in the process of like figuring out how to get funding for a book that I'm wanting to put together. It probably won't even come out for a few years. I feel like books are like albums, and you can't just be putting just anything out, because once it's out, it's out. So that's currently what I'm doing now.
So would it be a book documenting your work, or is it more personal reflections, or a combination of both?
I think just personal work. I really want to emphasize that Soul City project. I feel like I'm always, every other day, I'm coming up with ideas for personal work. So yeah, that's been the one that is kind of stuck with me that I want to keep doing. Oh Lord, I think we having some technical difficulties, y'all. Are we good?
We're good. We're good.
Okay.
I did have to step away for a bit, so I missed what you said, and it's difficult.
What did I say? Oh yeah, it's all good. But just working on I think making a book of that Soul City project that I'm doing.
Yeah, I feel like we need that. So if you need like, I mean, I've been applying for grants all this year. So if I see anything specific to writing, I'll definitely send it your way. There's like,
oh wait, it's not a writing book, it's a photo book.
Sometimes you can twist it. You can twist it. You can be like, I'm still going to apply for this grant, and this is why it qualifies, and tell me no, you to tell me no.
I feel it.
Yeah, there's like the grant process, and like I feel like this is what Cloud Salon is for. It's for us to share resources and insight to practice, and so that, because there's a lot of veils over things that prevent people from being able to pursue their practice or be successful. There's a lot of gatekeeping involved. But yeah, definitely like there's ways to find hidden grants that are out there. So anybody, hit me up if you have questions about that.
Oh, I will definitely be hitting you up.
Slide in my DMs, they're open. I might take a bit of time to get back to you because I'm embracing slowness, but right. I mean, slowness is also radical, you know, like it's in the age of social media, everything is quick, but the solutions we need are not going to be quick, fast, and easy. So trying to embrace that slowness. So I know we're wrapping up on time, but we're actually a minute past time. And I know Kennedi is tired because she was out there on that turkey farm getting $1. I appreciate the vulnerability and honesty though, you know, and
like, why am I here?
Because capitalism got us all twisted, all messed up. I'm gonna keep it simple.
On this damn turkey farm.
It'd be like that. But so I just want to like give thanks to Kennedi. It's been real. And I also want to thank everyone for joining us today. And I want to give a special thank you to our team members, the team at Cloud Salon, Richard Thay, Spin Travis, and myself, the graphic designers, Richard Thay, Helen Chung, and myself again, and our program coordinator, Sam Morrison, and of course, support from the Design and Technology program, John Sharp and Melanie Crean. And don't forget to join us next time. Cloud Salon invites New Red Order, an Indigenous art collective, for our next Cloud Salon. We could like turn on our, unmute ourselves and snap for Kennedy.
Oh, look, let me.
Hey, Kennedy.
Hello.
I like your background. That's cute.
Yeah, girl.
Okay, I need that look. I feel I gotta do a good job today with the eyebrows. You know, something slight.
Too bad I don't live there no more. Cause it's good.
Hi, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.